How's it going? So my name's George. I don't know, where is this?
There you go.
Oh, that's me. Okay, cool. So I didn't realize we were going to be presenting. I thought it was going to be a discussion, but luckily I have a presentation which, I've been working on for a little while. So it starts with a poem that I wrote, so I'm going to start with that. So it's called The Longing. There are some days where the world is dreadfully quiet. Even the screeching sound of a train on its track seems so external it doesn't impact the emptiness inside your mind. Everyone seems busy, except for you, and as you stare blankly into your shoes, you decide it's best you make a move. You glean at your smartphone screen as you watch the time ticking and talking, slowly knocking from one side to another. It feels like it's never moved slower. Suddenly, a bullet shoots right through your chest. You look down to check your breast for blood, but there's no sign of a crime, at least not one of human design. You look up to see if anyone might have witnessed what happened. However, as you gloss over the many faces of humanity, no longer certain of your sanity, things take a turn for the worse as everything blurs into a single word, the culprit behind the bullet: loneliness. Your brain takes a step back. It waits for this sensation to subside, to drift away into the past, just like every feeling that's ever come before it. And yet, it lingers. It dampens slightly, though it doesn't falter. It accompanies you into every meeting that day, into the lunch break you really shouldn't be taking, into the house which you are cohabitating, and still you feel alone. Of course, it's inescapable. We are alone. We'll die alone. And in every waking moment spent on this planet, attempting to align our opinion with the world's, we know that we are separate. Divided and yet united. Different and yet the same. We play a game that has no name but life. We live in strife. We live each day with a deep-seated desire to give up, to tear away the skin of individuality and lay down next to our kin. 'Tis a sin to say that I am not you and we are not they, and yet that is how this game is played. So they say. The more we keep our distance, the more we fade away. The less we keep our distance, the more certain we become of our existence. For the need for persistence in the face of resistance, of the purpose of yearning, to become who we are. Give into the stars and play the guitar, whose music loops from Jupiter to Mars. It's not far when you think of the universe at large. I say, it's okay to say that I'm feeling lonely today. It's okay to say that I can't stand another day. When I'm not with you, it turns my heart blue. And I'm not so sure I can do this without you. Because I am you, and you are me. To live this life happily, I pray you'll stand right here beside me. Knowingly, caringly, unashamedly yours, George. Small thing, try to, so this is a little bit about what I do. So How Mental is a mental health movement that I started online. It's now one of the largest dedicated mental health accounts on Instagram. So we've got about 50,000 followers, which is pretty cool because I've never considered myself an influencer, but now apparently I am. So, all it takes is a big Instagram page and you're flying. If you ever need like, any advice, just come to me. And what it's really about is actually, I recognize that within mental health, there's so many different people trying to do their own thing. And it's just like, it's one voice here, it's one voice there. It's not a cohesive thing. And so we're losing a lot of the strength behind it because we're all trying to do things by ourselves. So I thought, what about if we could actually bring people together and wake people up to the power of mental health, because we all have a mind to take care of. So it actually forms part of my personal mission, which is a little bit larger, but sorry if I'm getting in the way of the presentation, but so my personal mission is what I call mass empathy. And mass empathy for me means looking at, and remembering that as human beings, we share more similarities than we have differences, okay? And if we remember that, and if we think about that, we should be able to, if we start to empathize with each other just a little bit more, we can begin to work together much more cohesively than we ever could otherwise, and actually begin to make some real change. So I think mental health is, a really key part of it, because it touches on something that we all share as human beings, which are our emotions and our feelings. And the thing is, we're never really taught about our feelings. We go to school and we learn equations. Like, that's great, but, where are we meant to get taught about them? At home, we're getting taught to brush our teeth before we go to sleep. We're still not really, there's still not one place where we can actually explore these feelings. And where are we supposed to learn about loneliness, or, a sense of purpose, or grief? These are all such common human experiences that we've, as a civilization and as people, we've been going through for 80,000 years, and still there's not one dedicated place where we can go and be like, yeah, that's where I learn how to grieve. That's where I can understand what I'm going through when I lose someone. So, and there's a lot to learn. There are a lot of different words for emotions, and I personally love languages, and so just looking at these in English is fascinating, but then when you think about them in different languages, so for example, in Arabic, there's about 50 different words for love. And I'm just like, there's so much to tease out and so much to understand. I could imagine an entire curriculum based around emotions, like genuinely, let's start with fear. Like, how do we understand fear? Where does it come from? What should we do when we're feeling fearful? Is society becoming more fearful or not? There's so much to explore. And for me, this kind of all really hit home when I went through my own personal experience of feeling suicidal. And I know Marcus has touched on a lot of the same feelings, especially for me. I was feeling incredibly alone. I was working myself super hard, and I kind of, on my mission, my mass empathy mission, and all of a sudden, it kind of hit home that I was really struggling to push this forward. And when you're struggling to do something that you genuinely believe is good for the world, you just feel like, what is the point? Like, what am I really doing here? Like, I could just stop this and why would, like, I could just leave, I could stop, and would it matter? And I felt like in my own self, I'd always had this philosophy, which was that there was this bigger sense of purpose behind me, and I was just being driven by it, and it was all okay because I'm going with the flow and all this stuff. And actually I realized that life has no purpose, and for me that was like a big rock that I just went into. Like, life has no purpose. Okay, And if you sit with that, you're not going to go to a great place. Oh, I didn't realize this was happening. So, you're not going to go to a great place. But my saving grace was understanding in myself that life might have no purpose except that which we provide it. Okay? So for example, this talk right now, like this whole thing, like you could come in and it could mean nothing to you. And you could go home and you could keep going and do whatever you want to do. But if you want it to have a purpose, if you want it to have a meaning, it can have one. And you can use that and you can build on that. But the hard thing is that you have to give it that purpose. So, a lot of reflection, a lot of learning, but for me to go through this, it just showed me that there was a lot that could have been done beforehand, before I had to reach that point. And before a lot of other people have had to reach that point where they are depressed or they're feeling suicidal, and it's all coming from, their own feelings and their own philosophies and needing to understand that. So what can we do to actually overcome this? Well, from a young age, we need to start looking at how we can describe our feelings. And it's not just describe, because describe tends to kind of go with like words or diagrams, but really just express ourselves in a non-destructive way. So that's the starting point. Then afterwards we have to understand and reflect on those feelings. And then we go into actually taking actions to either tackle those feelings, help ourselves feel better, or just, even just become at peace with them. So this at the bottom has a little word, but the thing which I'm looking at really is emotional awareness, And there's a lot of different terms flying around these days. You've got like emotional hygiene, emotional competence, emotional fitness, like so many different words. And the fact that we have all of these words is great because it means that people are trying, and we're looking at this and we're pushing it and we're learning. But, for me, I call it emotional awareness, and I just think that's simple enough. So fast forward, what is the situation that we're in today? Well, 16 to 24-year-olds are the most lonely age group out of any of them. And I find that incredibly surprising when you think people talk about older people and loneliness in older people, but actually younger people are feeling it too. 1 in 6 adults face depression, and only 25% of them, so 75% of them are not receiving any kind of treatment. So people just aren't expressing themselves, they're not getting it out there, they're not connecting. And at the end of the day, suicide is the biggest killer of 20 to 49-year-olds, which is, that's not where we need to be, guys. Like, we need to start making a change. And the fact that people aren't even contacting services, we need to start making some serious change from the beginning, and really, like, what I think would be incredible is if we all had a space where we could actually just feel, just express ourselves, just feel, and do that in, a safe way where, those feelings end up connecting us to the right people who might help, whether that's our family and friends, or whether that's, our school or our employer, or, wherever we need that help, but we need a space to express ourselves. And that's what I've been creating with my mobile app, which is called Felium. And it's all about being able to express yourselves through technology, or express emotions through technology without the need for words. So I know a lot of people can struggle with that initial verbal barrier, and to be able to connect in this way seems like, the next step. It's intuitive, it's simple, and it's meaningful. So yeah, and you guys can ask me about that like later as well. But I guess the last thing which I wanted to say is, and kind of coming back to like where I started with the longing, and that's like, to do this alone is not going to work. We need to start doing this together, because when we connect and when we, have that kind of empathy and understanding, we're going to be able to take things a lot further, a lot quicker. So anyone who's interested in talking to me about any of this as well, just let me know, and I'd love to help. If any of you are doing your own things in mental health, I'd love to help you get it out there as well, because we all need so many different types of things, and any of my solutions are not going to be like the only solution. We all need different things. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.